Welcome back, students. Let's continue with the next chapter in the chemistry, that is chapter number 3. And the name of this chapter is Atoms and Molecules. Okay. So, in this particular chapter, we are going to study about the atoms and molecules. What are they? How the discovery of atoms and molecules has taken place, and what are some of the different laws which are there, which are representing the um, formation of these atoms and molecules. Okay, so let's start with this particular chapter. So here, first thing which we want to see here is that ancient Indian and Greek philosophers. Okay, so according to the history, if we are going to study about the chemistry, then we will find that the root of the chemistry, okay, the root of the chemistry is coming from very ancient Indian and the Greek philosophers. Okay, so they have always wondered about the Indian philosophers and the Greek philosophers. They have always wondered about the unknown and the unseen form of matter. Okay, they have always wondered about the unknown and the unseen form of matter, and the idea of divisibility of matter was considered long back in India. If we are talking about India, then we can found that many of the scriptures or many of the proof are there that the old Indians were also they were also thinking about the idea for the divisibility of matter, okay, into tiny substances or tiny particles. So a proof can be seen around 500 BC. Okay, a proof can be seen around 500 BC. Around 500 BC, we can see some proof. An Indian philosopher whose name was Maharishi Kanad, okay, whose name was Maharishi Kanad, he postulated that if we go on dividing matter, okay, if we go on dividing the matter, that is, if we are dividing the matter into very very smaller particles, okay, if we are dividing the particles into, if there, we are dividing the matters into very very smaller particles, then the matter which is in Hindi is termed as padarth. Okay, in Hindi it is termed as padarth. So that padarth can be broken into very smaller particles. Okay, very very smaller particles which can be termed as anu, which can be termed as anu. Okay, and this was the first attempt. This was the first attempt which can be sorry, not anu. He has named it as parmanu. Sorry, not anu. He has named it as parmanu. Okay, we can break the matter or the padarth into parmanu. Okay, we can break them into parmanu, and this was the name which was given to the smallest particle which can which a matter can be broken into. Okay, and further one more philosopher was there, one more Indian philosopher was there whose name was Pakudha Katyayama. Okay, Pakudha Katyayama, he elaborated this doctrine. Okay, he also elaborated this doctrine and said that these particles normally exist in a combined form. The Parmanus cannot exist in individual form. They cannot exist in individual form. They always exist in a combined form only. Okay, they always exist in a combined form only, not exist in individual form. They can be exist only in a combined form, which gives us various forms of matter, and hence in their combined form they are giving us the various kinds of matter. So we have studied about here about two philosophers, Indian philosophers. One is Maharishi Kanad. Maharishi Kanad. So what Maharishi Kanad has given us, his philosophy about the matter is that the matter can be divided into smaller particles which are termed as Parmanu. So he has introduced us to the Parmanus. And later the Pakudha Katyayama, he has further he has further related this particular Parmanu to a substance that matters are generally the combination of Parmanu. A matter is not formed by a single Parmanu, but it is nothing other than a combination of Parmanu. Okay, so these are some of the rules which were given by some of, sorry, these were some of the philosophies which were produced uh, by the old philosophers in India. Now, moving forward, we will move forward and see the next philosophies which are given by the Greek philosophers. Okay, which are given by the Greek philosophers. So, around the same era only, in the ancient Greek, Democritus, okay, Democritus and Leucippus, okay, they have suggested to divide the matter, okay, and a stage will come when the particles obtained cannot be divided further. We will obtain a stage where we cannot be divide the matter further into smaller particles. So this particular stage will be termed as atomos. That particular stage will be termed as the atomos. That means the tiny particles. This is a Greek word which means tiny particles. Okay, and so all these philosophies, this was sorry, tiny particles which is indivisible, tiny particles which is indivisible. This was the philosophy which was provided by Democritus and Leucippus around the same era, around 500 BC only. They have also talked about this atoms. But as no experimental proofs were there, okay, no experimental proofs were there, so these particular philosophies were discarded. Okay, they were discarded by the peoples at that time, as there are no proofs or no concrete proof for this particular things. So hence they have just thought to be as a philosophy only. All this was based on philosophical concentrations, and not much experimental works were there to validate these ideas. So these particular philosophies were been discarded during that time. But now in the 18th century, okay, as the time has grown, and in the 18th century, some of the scientists has proved this particular thing, that the matter can be divided into smaller particles. Okay, they can be divided into smaller particles, and these smaller particles combine with each other to form the matter. Okay, and in this series, in this particular experiments, the first name which we are going to study here is the Antony L. Lavoisier's name. Okay, Antony L. Lavoisier. So Antony L. Lavoisier was the first one to lay the foundation of the chemical sciences. Okay, he is also termed as the father of chemical sciences. Father of chemical sciences. Okay, whom Lavoisier. Lavoisier is termed as the father of chemical sciences. Why? Because he was the first one who has laid the foundation for the chemical sciences by establishing two laws. Okay, by establishing two laws. So what are the two laws? These laws are termed as the laws of chemical combination. These particular laws are termed as the law of chemical combinations. And the law of chemical combination, the following two laws of chemical combination were established after much experimentation by the Lavoisier and by the Joseph L. Proust. Okay, these two scientists have carried out many of the experiments, and after their research in this experiment, they have concluded that two laws are there which can be stated on the basis of that experiment, and which can define chemical sciences. Okay, so what are these two laws? Let's talk about these two laws. So the first law is the law of chemical conservation of mass. The first is the law of conservation of masses. So, is there a change in mass when a chemical reaction takes place? So the question which arises in the mind of the Lavoisier and the Joseph L. Proust was that, is there any change in the mass when a chemical reaction is taking place? This was the first question. And in order to do this particular thing, what we can do? We can do a series of experiments in order to find out whether any change of mass is there. Okay. So let's carry out some of the experiments. And for this, what they have done? they have taken two substances, that is X substance and Y substance. Okay, they have taken two substances, X substance and Y substance, and they had reacted this both substances with each other. So here in the X substance and Y substance, first X substance they have taken copper sulfate and Y substance has sodium carbonate. The next barium chloride, and with that as Y substance they have taken sodium sulfate. And the third is the lead nitrate, with that they have taken sodium chloride, that is the common salt with them. Now after this what they have done, they have prepared separately a 5% solution of any one pair of substances. Okay, any one pair of substances you can pick out of these three, and you have to make a 5% solution. 5% solution means the solution which is containing there 5% of the solute. Okay, 5% of the solute by mass, that of the solution, mass of solution. Okay, so if 100 milliliter, 100 gram is the mass of the solution, then for 100 grams the 5 gram will be the mass of the solute there. Okay, 5 gram will be the mass of the solutes, that is the copper sulfate or sodium carbonate, barium chloride or sodium sulfate, or lead nitrate or sodium chloride can be taken out there. Okay, now take a little amount of solution of Y in a conical flask and some solution of X in a ignition tube. Okay, so what they have taken, what we are going to do, we have to take a small amount of solution in a conical flask. Okay, this is the conical flask. This particular conical shaped vessel, it is termed as a conical flask. It is generally made up of glass. Okay, it is made up of flint glass, clear glass it is, and in that we have taken the solution of Y. In that we have taken the solution of Y, and in the small ignition tube, we have taken solution of X. Okay, in the small ignition tube we have taken the solution X. Hang the ignition tube in the flask that the solutions do not get mixed up there. Put a cork on the flask, means we have to seal this particular conical flask there by using a cork. Okay, and we have hanged this tube there inside the conical flask in order to not to let them mix directly there. Okay, not to let them mix directly. So now let's see what is the observations. So for observations we have to do what? First we have to weigh the flask with its content carefully before the experiment. Okay, now tilt and swirl the flask. What we have to do? We have to tilt the flask and swirl the flask so that the solution X and solution Y gets mixed up there. Before doing this, we have weighed the solution, we have weighed this flask, and after what? After weighing, we are going to tilt and swirl the flask in order to mix the X and Y solution there. And then we have to wait again. After the mixing process, we have to wait again. So what we will observe there? What we will observe there, we have to see that what will be the observation there. So let us say we have taken 20 grams of X solution and 20 grams of Y solution there. Okay, so 20 grams of X solution and 20 grams of Y solution was there. So after swirling and mixing, we will see that the weighing of the solution, total solution in the flask will be 40 grams. Okay, it will be weighing as to be 40 grams. So this particular observation will tell us that the total mass of the system here, the total mass for the system here is conserved. Okay, no mass has been destroyed here, or no mass has been created out here, and we will observe that the mass is been conserved out here. So on the basis of this experiment we can conclude that the following law, which is termed as the law of chemical combination, and that law is the law of mass conservation or conservation of mass, it will be the mass can neither be created nor can be destroyed, but its form can be changed from one to another. Okay, the mass can neither be created nor can be destroyed, but its form can be changed from one to another. And here, by this particular experiment, we have explained this particular thing only. Okay. Next is the law of constant proportion. Law of constant proportion. So here, in the law of constant proportion, Lavoisier, along with other scientists, noted that many compounds were composed of two or more elements. Okay, in his experiment, the Lavoisier has found out that many of the compounds are containing, many of the matters which are present around him, they are containing more than one element in them, and they are combined with each other to form these compounds. So each such compounds had the same element in the same proportion there. Okay, as we are taking example for water, so we will see that each molecule of water is having the same definition, the same configuration, that is two hydrogens are combined with one oxygen in a particular ratio of 2 is to 1 to form the water. Similarly, in the case of carbon dioxide, we will see that one carbon atom is combined with two oxygen atoms in order to form carbon dioxide. That is, the ratio here will be 1 is to 2. Similarly, in case of HCl, here one hydrogen atom is combined with one chlorine atom. That is, the ratio here it will be 1 is to 1. So, if we are talking about a individual compound, then we will see that the individual compounds are formed and all the molecules of that particular compounds will be having the same proportion of the different elements which are combining with each other in order to form that compound, and this particular ratio is not changing. Okay, if I am taking the ratio here by the mass, then the mass ratio will be 1 is to 8. Here the mass ratio will be 3 is to 8. Okay, so the mass ratio is also here, that is 3 is to 8, and 1 is to 8 is the mass ratio for that of the CO2 and that of the water here. Okay, so we can say that in a way that in a compound such as water, the ratio of the mass of hydrogen to the mass of the oxygen is always 1 is to 8. Whatever the source of water, thus if 9 grams of water is decomposed, 1 gram of hydrogen will be there and 8 grams of oxygen will be obtained out there. Okay, so are always obtained. Similarly, in ammonia, in the case of ammonia, that is NH3, ammonia is what? NH3. So here we will see that nitrogen's mass is 14 and hydrogen mass is 3 here. So the ratio of the mass here, it will be 14 is to 3. That is, when 17 grams of ammonia is been decomposed there, 14 grams of nitrogen will be there and 3 grams of hydrogen will be obtained out there. Okay, so this led to the new law, to the formation of the new law, that is termed as the law of constant proportion, or also it is termed as the law of definite proportion. And this law states that it was stated by the Proust. Okay, it was stated by the Proust, where he has stated that, where he has stated that in a chemical substance, the elements are always present in a definite proportion by their mass. Okay, and this proportion which is present there, they are present according to their mass only. Okay, so these were the two laws which were defining the chemical sciences, and these were the foundation for the ladement, for the laid of the chemical sciences. And hence, the for the statement of these two laws, the Lavoisier is being termed as the father of modern chemistry or chemical sciences. Father of modern chemistry or chemical sciences. So student, for today we have concluded, we are going to conclude here only. We have studied today about the discovery of atom, the history of the atoms, from where in the history we can find out the atoms has been found out, and also we have studied about the two laws, that is the law of conservation of mass and the laws of constant proportions, which were given by James Proust and the scientist Anthony L. Lavoisier. Okay, so these were the two laws which we have proposed, and in the next class we are going to study about the structure or the discovery of the atoms. So till then, thank you. We will meet in the next class. Thank you.